coming to you tonight, Halloween night, the scariest night of the year. We're coming to you live from the scariest place on earth, the land between the lakes. Happy Halloween from the Brotherhood of the Wolf. I'm here with my lovely wife, Letitia,
Hi, everybody.
and my brother, Martin Groves.
Good evening.
We have a really good show tonight. We have some guests coming on. Hope you guys enjoy it. We've been down here for a couple days already, running up and down these hills and hollers, and I'll tell you what, I'm pretty sore from all this climbing and up down.
My
Yeah.
ankles hurting.
Right. So we've had a lot of fun, and we're here to talk some scary stories with Mr. Martin Groves. So Martin, how you been doing, brother?
I'm doing a lot better, and I'm here with you guys with my family tonight, and just glad to be here with everyone.
Well, we're glad to have you. So just a couple weeks ago, we went on another little outing here in the LBL with Mr. Ron Moorhead.
Oh, yes. Had a great time to be with Mr. Ron Moorhead and Daryl Denton, and
Right.
I would add tonight that Daryl could not be here with us due to
Unfortunately,
family obligations. So happy Halloween to Daryl Denton and his
And his family.
daughter and son and family.
yeah, we love you, brother.
We love you, Daryl.
Love you.
So we were down here a couple of weeks ago with Ron, and we had some activity outside while I was outside. It was late at night. We were right by a little creek, and everybody else had gone to bed, but I was up talking on the phone or watching my friend's podcast or whatever, and I heard some loud thrashing around in that creek. And it actually made me get back up on the porch in the porch light.
Yes, yes.
And the next day we found a bunch of little saplings. They wasn't very small, they were pretty stout, but two were broken off at the 6 or 7 foot high level,
Yes,
and the rest were smashed down flat, and I tried to break one myself and couldn't do it.
they were huge.
They were
They were
huge.
very large saplings that a human could not break.
Right? And Daryl found a partial footprint. That was the second night. We had activity every night that we were there. So, and I actually saw something here. First time I've seen anything at the LBL, but it was something I couldn't explain. And you and I had been gone for hours already, but at these remote locations, and we didn't see or hear much. But we turned back in to the campground, and there was something standing right to the right of the road, and I saw its back leg go up into the trees.
Yes.
Now, did you see that too?
I saw a lot more than you did, and I'm convinced as to what I saw because of my past, the things, the creatures, beast, whatever they may be, I've seen many times within the park. I'm convinced that it was a Dogman. I saw its both of its legs. It was bipedal. It was very large. And about the time that I was about to say something, Barton had seen as it stepped into the woods.
Right.
And the colors fully matched the Dogmen that I have seen here in the past. And at the campground itself was very strange. We've been throughout the park throughout the week, and of all places for us to have the most activity, where the most humans were actually at, and with the horses, there were Bigfoot behind the cabin that night. We were awakened in the middle of the night, and one actually stepped into the light of the window that runs behind the cabin and fully engulfed the window. And we looked at it the next morning, it would have had to have been 9 foot tall. And we had activity all through the night. It was banging on our cabin walls, would not let us sleep, and it was quite apparent that it wanted us to come outside the cabin.
Well, I hope this campfire cooperates with us.
It's a lovely, lovely
It's a
night
great
to
fire.
be by
It's a
the
beautiful
fire.
night.
Yes,
It's a
it is.
beautiful night to be here.
So can somebody just kind of keep an eye out beside us, because I just heard something over there in the woods.
Right, we're right beside. This is Lake Barkley, right?
This is the Kentucky-Tennessee River here
Okay.
on this side.
And you can hear the waves lapping on the shores down there.
This was a tree break like sound.
Now this is a place where Martin has seen things before, and we were camped out here last spring?
It would be February and March.
February,
Yep.
February, March, early spring, right? And it was just me, Daryl Denton, and Martin Groves here. I think my wife, he was on an expedition with the Blondes and Booze, right?
Liz, Michigan.
Right.
Ann
So,
Arbor, Michigan. Christian Brandy from Blonde and Booze. Hi, guys.
yeah, shout out to all our
Hello.
friends, everyone in the chat. Thanks for joining. We love you guys.
Happy Halloween. Very glad to
Happy
have you here.
Halloween. Now tell everybody what happened that night, Martin. The night that you got really sick and Daryl had to take you to the.
What
the
happened
mat- to
that
the
night,
bathroom.
we had been in camp for some time, and we began to hear a lot of activity above. There's a ridge line that runs behind the camp. To begin with, the campsite we were at has a long history of having activity at that campsite. And the reason we had chosen that particular campsite, and within the second book that I had written, is a family that came down from Louisville, Kentucky, that was spending the night there in that camp, and a Bigfoot had been seen going through their frying pan and their leftovers that was on the concrete picnic table. And she awakened during the night to see and hear this, and when she raised up and made some noise in their Airstream camper, the creature came over and began to rock the camper. Now, there's reports out of this particular park here that number 23 is situated just below a high ridge line. That's why we chose the area. However, that particular night was no different than what the other campers had reported. As soon as it began to get dark and we had no visibility except for our campfire, we had them come in on us. And we did do a live feed from there that night that actually came out. It was recorded, but we put it out. But we were surrounded that night.
Right, and I was right up at camp, all alone with Nightmare, waiting for something to happen. And
Yes.
just would not.
It was a very spooky situation
Very spooky.
where we all stayed awake. And at some point in time, we'd had enough. And I'll talk a little bit about what other folks will use as the woo factor, or the spooky situations that cannot be explained. But
Such a funny little word that is, right?
it's a funny little word that I just don't particularly use it myself. But I got to admit that it was some form of a factor that hit us. And for the second or third time in my life, where if there is beast within the area, I will usually get zapped. There's many reasons for that, but I got zapped that night to the point where that I had become very sick, and that's actually the third, fourth time that I've been hit. But they were very close to us in that camp, and we had activities till about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right, and that's the night that I wanted to sleep in my tent, but you and Brother Daryl just would not have that. Remember
Yeah,
that?
it was very cold that night, and plus with all the activity that was taking place, we thought
Smoke
maybe
box,
it'd be
yeah.
better that you stay with us.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, I went ahead and stayed in that truck with you guys, but I didn't get a lick of sleep. I don't know how you y'all can sleep like that.
Well, many years of practice sleeping,
Right.
setting up, and of course, Brother Daryl did not help us out because he likes to snore just a wee bit.
No,
Yeah.
it's not too bad.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad at all.
Yeah, we have fun. We have fun every time we come down here, and we're just glad that you guys can be down here with us this time. Next Halloween is going to be a little bit different. We're going to go to a really famous place that's famous for a lot of violence and cult activity. Now, we have cult activity in this park all over. So I'm going to keep that to myself here, and hopefully you guys will be with us next year. It's really going to be something special.
I look forward to it.
I do too, brother. Every time we come down here, we have such a good time, you know. It's like like Gabby Henderson was saying, it's not like a camp out. It's like a family reunion.
It's a family reunion to be here with all of you. And there's a
Right.
lot more folks here tonight that are not in the camera range, and we're here. This is a family reunion for all of us.
It sure is. And we got War Criminal 7 here, and the Hendersons are going to come on in just a little bit. I just
And
wanna let you guys know,
both of our lovely wives
both of
are
our
here
lovely
with us.
wives are here, yes.
They're here sharing the
Think smoke
campfire,
got too
freezing
much
and
for Letitia,
smoked out. Yes.
but just, we love to come down here, and we're going to continue to come down here and bring you guys stories and live investigations from this place. And I just know that everyone's going to have a good time. I want to remind everyone that we've launched our membership tiers. So if you guys are interested in that, you can become a member. There's 3 or 4 different tiers, and you get different benefits with each tier. But I want to let you know that for all my viewers, nothing is changing for you. We're still going to be on. I'm still going to be doing the videos. We're still going to be doing the live streams. You can see all that. We're just going to do extra. So the people who want to support us and can, because we can surely use the support, we're going to be doing a lot extra for them. So that's the only thing that's going to be changing is for the people who support us. So nothing's changing for you guys who can't. You know, your presence here is we're grateful for it, and that's all you really need to do. But for those who are capable of it and want to do it, you can join one of the tiers, whichever one you can afford or would like to join. And at the top tier, early next year, once a year, I'm going to be picking two people out of the Barton Spartans, and we're going to take them to a live investigation on location, and if they want to. Now, if they don't want to do that, I'll sit down and I'll sketch them an original sketch or something like that. But I'm going to try to take 2 people from the Spartans to a location to do a live investigation with humanoid activity. And we always have an interesting time. Even if it's nothing sensational happens, we have a great time. And I'm sure that we all will again. So I'm looking forward to that.
Me too.
I hope 2 of you lucky people out there enjoy this. I don't think anybody else is offering this. So yeah, it's going to be great. Can you come back and sit down, honey?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
We got time for a scary one, or what's
Yes,
our
we
time
want.
frame?
So we want to go all scary tonight, brother.
All right, we're
So
here.
we got all night long, and if you guys want to, just ring in midnight with us.
We're here on Halloween night, one that is most famous for being the scary time of the year. And I don't normally tell this story, and folks, you have to understand that I walk a different world than most of the researchers do or the investigators do. Coming from a law enforcement background, I walk into places that most people can't get to. I hear stories that you will not hear, and I see papers that will not be seen by the civilians or by persons that are not in the field of law enforcement. I wanted to briefly just give you a rundown of the fact that since I've been investigating this area, that I am up to at least 38, and if we count an unsolved murder, we are up to 40 humans that have lost their life since 1965, 2 years before the park was officially open to the public. So we're almost 40 persons that have died here. But I'm going to take you to an area that you're all familiar with, and you won't hear me use the word alleged on anything. So I'm going to take you to the area of the kill site of the month of April of year of 1982, where 4 people were killed. Most folks would believe that after that time that there were no more killings in the area, but there were. And to this day, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of campers that visit this area each and every year. So you have the month of April, 4 people were slain in a hideous manner. by a creature unknown, most of us refer to as Dogman. And you would think that the park officials would have ended it right there. But the story that is untold to many, we have the same area of DeMumbers Bay within a 5 or 6 mile area of these other folks that had perished. Let's go on down to DeMumbers Bay, just across the area, if you could get through the water. And we'll talk a little bit about, we had 2 people that met their demise, which a fish and wildlife officer out of the state of Kentucky had witnessed, where they were killed in the tent, coming outside their tent, and he could not do anything. But this story I'm about to tell is of 3 different individuals that were slain in DeMumbers Bay. And it's all of them are sad cases. But just think you have brought your wife and child to have a holiday and just to camp out and have some fun. And what occurred in May, only a little over a month later, we had a husband, a wife, and it is unknown if she was 3 or 4-year-old daughter that had been camping there. And the trio had been seen the day before that they were found. They were slain in DeMumbers Bay as well. How this case came to me was from a retired Tennessee Valley Authority, TVA, retired patrol officer. And he told me the story that 1 to 2 days before this family had been killed in DeMumbers Bay, where they were camping, that a TVA officer had actually went down and spoke to this couple and saw their child and wished them well. The TVA officer later told the story that he carried quite a bit of guilt because he had seen the folks before they had passed away and were killed by unknown animal. And the officer stated that the guilt that he had was because he knew of what had taken place in the month of April and the 4 people that had been slain just across the bay up by Mount Pleasant. So the story goes that the husband and wife and little girl were slain as they were camping and ripped apart and torn apart in their tent as they lay sleeping. And the campers actually heard a scream in the night, heard hideous screams, and they could not locate where the screams had come from, and the next day the family was found slain. This still goes on. People hear and see the beast within the park. Some people laugh about it, some people do not believe in it, but yet at least 38 to 40 people somehow have met their demise within this park, killed by some beast or some demon that roams this park for whatever reason, and it's still being seen today. We are sitting here tonight with 2 individuals that actually saw the beast only a few months ago as it crossed in front of them.
That's right.
The story, though, concludes with this, that to this day, the witness stated the mother was wearing a white sundress with flowers on the sundress, and that she is seen in this area searching for her daughter, and that campers actually report that if they leave toys, especially if they leave small baby dolls around the camp, that this mother that lost her child in the park will take and walk off with these baby dolls. And then you will find these baby dolls all over land between the lakes, and especially in the area of DeMumbers Bay. So when you're camping in this area and you see the lady in white wearing a sundress for it was the month of May that she died and her whole family was slain. You have seen the mother searching for her child. That is just one of many stories that come from this park. I know that the trio that was killed was true, but is the lore behind people seeing the woman in the white dress? Of course, we hear of this all over Kentucky and Tennessee. However, this is particular to this one area of the Bubbas Bay. And when you see the lady with the dress and the flowers, you know what she's looking for.
So
You've never heard that story, had
No,
you?
I had never heard that one, so that's the first time for everyone. Appreciate you telling us that. Can you please tell the viewers, as a 32-year retired deputy sheriff, how the authorities handle these cases and what do they do? I mean, how do they cover all this up and keep people from knowing what's going on here?
Well, we have a long history of our national parks throughout of America that the information is simply just not shared with the public. And you would think in this day and time that it would be a different story. But, you know, I'm a huge fan and follower, and what I am a student of David Politis. And he is probably the best at reporting anytime we have missing persons and of the strange methods that they are reported being found. So many now it's hidden that if someone disappears or is killed within any park, Land Between the Lakes or wherever, they'll be found. So many we hear of that are found floating in 2 and 3 inches of water that have drowned. It'll be reported that their bodies are predated upon post-mortem, and it's just a shame that the officials do not tell and share the truth. And you know, this came up when we were in Texas. One of the questions was asked of me, why is the public not warned about this so they can protect themselves? Well, it comes down to, and I've heard Elijah say it best, that it comes down to the tourism industry and how much is actually, the last I heard was $7 or $8 million per year that this park generates. And you know, if they get a reputation, people have either been killed in the past or in the present right now, that deters tourism.
Right.
But you know, even today in the Smoky Mountain National Park, I have friends that I went to police academy with that I still share information even after I'm retired. 25 years ago, you could walk in anywhere in the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge area and you would see the missing person posters. You won't see that anymore in modern times. You might catch one every once in a while, but you could go to the service stations anywhere around Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg, and their missing posters would be everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I know we used to see them on, they used to put them on the back of milk cartons
Oh yeah,
years ago, and they stopped doing that.
they do not want the public to know.
Well, we're here to tell the public. So that's our job, is to tell you the truth. That's what we're going to do. And, you know, I don't put a lot of faith in what other people say. But I can tell you this, I put a lot of faith in what all the members of the Brotherhood of the Wolf say, because I know they're honorable, I know they're true, and I know they're not going to tell any lies. So that's what we're about. We're not about popularity and the clicks and all that stuff and the views. And of course, we love all our viewers, but we're here to tell you the truth, and that's it. If it's, you know, if it's not sensational, well, it's not. If it is, it is. We're not going to make anything up, and we're not going to do no lines of BS like a lot of these other channels do. So last time we was here, brother, we were sitting not quite this campground here, but we were a little bit lower, and it was just us in the park. It seemed like we had the whole park to ourselves that night.
Yes, yes.
And we were sitting by the campfire, and we heard the sound, a lonely barge horn plying its trade somewhere up along the Cumberland River.
Yes.
And remember what I said when I heard that sound? I said that every time I hear the sound, it takes me back to when I was 5 years old. You remember me saying
Yes.
that?
Yes. Now I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah, so Bubba said, what do you mean it takes you back when you was 5 years old? So when I was 5 years old, I hope everybody can hear this. Let us know in the chat, comment, and let us know if you can hear everything okay. We had to do everything a little bit differently tonight, of course. When I was 5 years old, we were living in Henderson County, Kentucky, and just a stone's away from the Green River.
Yes.
And this is really when everything began for me. Of course, I didn't know it. I was only 5 years old, but 1971, summer of 1971, we were all sitting in the kitchen watching a little black and white 19-inch TV. And my sister, my older sister, she was 7. She screamed out. She was sitting by the window. She screamed out and ran over to Dad and said, "There's a monster looking in the window." Right? Remember me telling you that?
Yes.
And so my mother and my father ran outside. Dad had the shotgun, and they ran outside the door, and they saw a figure, large figure, running down one of the roads that led to the slough and back into the lower field. And she later told me that it looked like it was covered with, wearing a brown jumpsuit or something like that. My dad fired 3 or 4 shots at it and didn't have any more problems, didn't think much else about it. A few months later, I think it was close to Christmas, late October, November, and my mother and my older sister, all the other kids had gone to bed. It was about 10 o'clock at night. So my mother and older sister were in her room looking at a Sears catalog trying to figure out a Christmas present. And she saw a red glow coming from the window, the bedroom window. So she went over there and looked out and saw what she called a flying saucer, a red colored flying saucer come down and land behind one of the old barns. And of course she panicked and she ran screaming at your dad that she seen a flying saucer. We had to leave. We had to get out of there really fast.
Of course. Yeah.
He said, "No, Rosie, we're not going to get out of here really fast. I want you to get all the kids up and get them dressed," which was a chore. He said, "I want you to turn any lights on. You get the kids up, get them dressed, and set them down there at the kitchen table." So she said, "Well, no, we got to get out of here. We got to run." He said, "No, just do what I say." So she did that. And I remember we was all sitting there at the kitchen table, and she asked my dad, why are we not leaving? And he said, every night about this time, at 10:30, excuse me, a barge would come down that Green River, and it would blast on that horn, and it would take the searchlight and sweep it all along the riverbanks, and the light would come all through the woods around our house, and we could see, all the woods around our house when we did that. He told her, he said, "We're going to sit right here until that barge comes, and when the barge comes and shines that light, then we're going to leave, then we're going to make a run for it." And so sure enough, it wasn't about 5 minutes later, we heard the barge horn sound on the Green River. And spotlights started sweeping back and forth through the trees. He said, "Now, Rosie, let's go, now." So we all got up and ran out to the car. And of course, she had to leave my dad out because he had glaucoma. He could see very well. She all let us out to the car, and we got in, and she peeled out of there on 2 wheels. And I looked back, and I remember looking back and seeing the screen door on the front porch swinging back and forth,
Yeah.
And that was my first experience with the unknown. So there's a little story there for you guys. Yeah, I've written about most of my experiences in my books. You guys can get my books from Amazon.com and read about a lot more of my experiences. But yeah, I just thought I'd throw that in there since we were
The Green
down
River.
here, and it reminded me of the last time we were here.
I remember that story well, and I've always been not only fascinated with everything you've written about, but I find it so fascinating, all of the history and the area of the Green River and what has taken place with good families like you and others who have been tormented. And you know, if you don't mind me saying this, I want to go into this for just a brief second. One of the things that always hurt me about your story and what just broke my heart, because I was a law enforcement officer and I always believed people when they would call for help, and it bothered me so badly to know that your family had called for help and that the police had basically ridiculed and mocked your family.
Yeah.
Well,
That was 4 years later. Yeah,
yes.
4 years later.
And you know, we call the police because we need help.
Sure.
And so many times, officers that I even worked with in my area would make fun of witnesses, only for me to find out, because I would take that extra step, and others, to find out what you guys were saying was true. There were actually things that go bump in the night, and
Oh, yeah.
monsters that are in the woods that are searching to take our families.
Right. Well, that was 4 years
I hope you
later.
don't mind me
No,
saying
I don't
that.
mind. Thanks, brother. That was 4 years later. In 1975, we moved into the city because my mother said, "Well, I'm never living out there." And we were way out. We had no neighbors. Really isolated. She said, "I'm never going to live out there again in the country like that."
Mm-hmm.
So we moved to the city, and we lasted until 1975. 4 years. We couldn't take any more. We were, country people.
Sure.
Not city people at all. I still am. Consider myself a country boy. And then we moved back in 1975 to another isolated little farmhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we had all the Spotsville monster stuff happen to us. And that was basically 11 months of these Bigfoot creatures coming around our house and scaring everybody and terrorizing us and killing all our animals, killing all the neighboring farms' animals. And they would bring the animals' bodies and leave them on our property.
Purposely, so that y'all
Purposely,
could find them.
as a warning or whatever, I don't know, but they were all mutilated in the exact same way. They were sliced open from their necks to down between their back legs, and all the soft tissue, all the entrails were gone, missing, and the eyeballs and tongues were also missing. And this is every single carcass that we found, and we found a bunch. There's no rips or tears or bite marks on these dead animals. Just like a surgical incision, the length of their bodies, on the underside of their bodies, and all the soft tissue gone. So another thing, an interesting thing about that is the bodies of these animals that they left, no scavenger would mess with them at all. The turkey vultures
Wouldn't touch
wouldn't
'em,
land
would it?
on them. The coyotes wouldn't eat them. Not even a fly would land on these things. And so, as I grew older, I realized that that was a perplexing aspect of it, and
Sure.
it had to be. The only thing I can think of is it had to be from residual radiation, trace amounts
Yes,
of radiation
yes.
left on the bodies of these animals. So it's been my contention for years now that these inhumanoids like Bigfoot and Dogman, and Mothman, and Goatman, and what have you, they all have some level of radioactivity to them, and that's what
It's-
makes people sick.
Yes.
Makes their health go bad when they're exposed to them. And
Yes,
I
very
don't believe
much.
it's infrasound at all.
Very
I
much.
think the infrasound's just a way to explain in a natural way what's happening in a supernatural way. So
The funny thing is, what you're talking about is that if we had a national database and the truth was told, that so many people have the same story when they find their farm animals or pets, that it's the same story, and that nothing, no turkey vulture, no possum, no type of animal that we know that will clean up a carcass, no fly,
No ants?
no type of beetle will, and nothing will touch it.
Right. And these bodies lay there
Yes.
for months and months. I remember riding the school bus every day. And everybody on the bus would see 2 or 3 dead dogs laying
Yeah.
on the side of the road. For months, it took them forever to finally dry
Rot
up
away,
and desiccate
yeah.
and start
Yeah.
to decompose. Yeah,
Mhm.
nothing would touch these things. And I told my dad what was going on. And at the very beginning, at the offset, like the first animal we found that was sliced open like that, and he said, "Whatever y'all do," I don't know how he knew anything about this, because we didn't know anything about the paranormal or the unknown or Bigfoot or anything, you know. But he said, "Whatever y'all do, do not go within 10 feet of those dead animals."
Mhm.
So I think he might have had a little,
He suspected, and he had what you and I refer to, country boy common sense, that he knew something was not right,
right,
and he didn't want his children to get near those animals for various reasons. But you know, this story that you're telling is repeated over and over throughout throughout the world. It's not just America or out in the country, and I could go on and talk about several cases that I've worked with the same result, whether it be, you know, a $10,000 breeding animal, a cow, a bull, horses, and it's the same thing. And we can go out in the West, and we have so many reports that the same type of carnage that was committed against the animal, and when it's killed, and
Cattle
nothing will
mutilation.
touch it. Cattle mutilation.
cattle mutilations of the 70s.
Yes, and and a matter of fact, if Daryl Denton was here, we could talk about his animals, the way they were killed, and the fact that within a 3 or 4 mile radius that I personally worked, 2 extremely expensive breeding bulls were found that close to his house, and he had animal mutilation in these 2 bulls at the same time period that occurred. And I'm just one little police officer, retired, that can sit here and recite such stories. Just think if everyone could come forth and speak of what has taken place just on our continent alone,
Right.
and the stories that we would know, and the knowledge that the public would be able to have in order to protect their loved ones at their homes.
Right. Well, I have to say, these days, it's a lot easier for someone to come out and admit that something strange has happened to them. Back in the 70s and 80s, you could not do that
No,
without
not at all.
suffering severe repercussions, right?
Not at
You
all.
would lose your job, your family.
Mm-hmm.
Some people even lost their lives. They ended up committing suicide because of the ridicule that they received by stepping forward and telling the truth. So luckily, these days, everything's a little bit different.
We can thank folks like you, though, Barton Nunley, for
thank you,
providing
man.
a channel
Appreciate that, brother.
that allows witnesses to come forth and tell the truth, and that they are not ridiculed, that they are not the word, and forgive me for using the word, but I do not care for the debunking channels and the debunkers. The witnesses that come forth with their story, and they want to tell what occurred to them so that they can either help someone else or prevent it from happening to their neighbors or loved ones. So folks like you provide a channel and a platform that they can come forth and do this.
Thanks, brother. I'm happy to do that because I believe that everyone has a right, a fundamental right to know the truth and to know if what they're being told is a lie or a fact.
Yeah.
So I don't believe in selling people fiction as fact like a lot of these people do,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll never do that. It's hard enough, you know. People are running around, they're confused. They don't know who to believe. They don't know who to trust. You know, they run around with daggers hanging out of their backs.
Oh yeah, big
So,
time.
What we're trying to do is change all that. We're trying to usher in a new era of paranormal research and give everybody a chance to see and hear what's real and realize that a lot of what they're hearing out there is not. I mean, we have the Brothers of the Wolf. We're really focusing on doing that. We're gonna change everything. So,
That's what Barton is attempting to do and is doing right now, is to bring all the researchers and the paranormal and field investigators to come together so that we can share the information and intelligence that we have with the public.
right, I don't want
And-
all of them. I don't want
Yeah.
all of them in this group because some of them
Right.
you can't trust. But
But the good ones,
good ones?
the good ones that you know,
yes,
that you have verified,
they have truth in them, honor. They're honorable.
yes.
And those are the people we want. We want the good people,
Hmm.
and we don't care about any of the rest. Any of the ones any of the con artists out there selling, fiction as fact. We don't have anything to do with any of those, and they know who they are. So no one will ever use AI generated content,
No, not at all here.
whether it's me or anyone in the group in the Brotherhood of the Wolf, that do podcasts and stuff like this. We will never do that. So you know that if we say something, it's the truth. And it's not AI generated BS or anything other than what we're telling you. So yeah, it's gonna be hard
Straightforward
to
facts.
do, but right.
Straightforward
Change
facts.
is hard to make happen, but it seems to me that someone has to at least try to make it happen. So that's
Yeah.
what I'm doing. Hopefully, I have some kind of effect on the paranormal field, especially the cryptid field. But we have.
I think you're doing very well in bringing this together, and I look forward to a new year coming and a really good 2024 where we
Yeah,
have
me
so
too.
much more coming out.
We have all bases covered here with the Brotherhood of the Wolf.
We do, and tonight we have Cryptid Studies Institute
Right.
with us here tonight, Elijah and Gabrielle Henderson, and I'm so glad to be here with them too. They are
too. Yeah,
definitely family,
they're
and
helping us out.
I'm glad to be here with them. I've been missing them, and I've been sick, and I'm glad that I'm here just to share the campfire and be with them tonight.
Yeah, we're so glad you
Let
guys are
somebody
here.
come over and sit down with,
Sure.
and I'll stand
And,
up.
I'm gonna walk off and let Gabby and
I don't mind
Elijah Henderson please go over.
Yeah,
Please
you
come
guys,
over.
Gabby, Elijah,
Elijah.
come on over here.
Please come
Gabby
over.
and Elijah Henderson, please come over. Were you asleep?
No.
Water
That is the biggest water bottle I believe I've ever
Right.
seen.
So we
Come
have.
join us, brother. Come
Yeah.
join us.
Fellow members.
My water
Yeah.
bottle,
Warm
mine's
over
bigger.
Yeah,
Really?
Feels great.
feels great, man. Feels
We have,
great.
we have fellow Brotherhood members out in the field right now, Jesse and Joe Doyle from Helping Holler. Hope you guys enjoyed their live stream tonight.
Good to see you, Jesse and Joe.
Yeah, we've
God
been,
bless
See you today.
Yeah, we've been running around in these woods for a couple of days with them now and having a great time. And today we went and visited the Vampire Hotel. We got a lot of good videos coming up, guys. A lot of footage that I have to edit. At least 4 videos that have something to do with the LBL. I have Daryl
Yeah.
Denton's interview. That's
Yes.
coming up. That's really
Very
interesting.
informative.
You don't want to miss that. Trust me. So, Gabby and Elijah, how you guys doing?
We're doing,
Man, we're doing
great.
good. It's a little cold, but this fire is fantastic.
Right?
We're
Well,
very happy to be out
we're
here
happy to have y'all. What have y'all been up to lately?
fixing a broken car.
Yeah, basically. We almost weren't here tonight
Always
because of a
fun.
broken car.
Wow.
Well, we're glad you made
I'm
it.
glad
It's
you're here,
fixed
man.
now.
Man, I'm
Glad
glad to
you're
see
here.
y'all. Glad to be
It
down
is fixed
here.
now.
Excellent. So, Elijah, tell us a scary story, brother. Share a scary story with all these wonderful viewers out there.
Well, I kind of actually wanted to tie into something that you said earlier about
Okay?
the animal
Mutilations?
carcasses that was found on your family's
Sure.
property and whatnot.
Yeah.
Some years back when I was young, do you remember the exact year that was?
Are we talking about what I think you're talking about?
Yeah.
I was 15 years old because that was the year we lost our dog Blue.
Yeah.
Well,
Careful.
Because the
If it
smoke
smoke's
is getting
blowing
me
you,
quite bad.
just step out of the smoke gun.
that smoke's been kind of following us
Yeah,
all
that's-
around tonight.
We've been
Campfires.
blessed by the smoke god. Yes.
Campfire's
But
not
anyway,
wanting to
proceed
cooperate.
with our story, Elijah. I was 15, so you would have been about 13.
Okay. Well, so where we live in Clarksville, Tennessee, in an area called Cumberland Heights. And there's a lot of woods over there, but it's close to the city. So you kind of got the convenience of being close to town, but you still got a lot of nature. And we live down a 300-foot driveway, down off into a holler surrounded by woods. And it's,
Right, I've been to your house several times.
Oh yeah, it's nice back there. Lot of woods behind our house and whatnot. And as we've lived there, we moved there in 2003. We've kind of off and on had just weird, unusual things happen there. You know, hear weird noises off in the woods. Sometimes my dad said rocks would get thrown at him, but you know, that just kind of happened usually in the fall or in the early spring time frame. And we started having some strange stuff happen down there. We'd have off and on we've had goats and chickens and whatnot, and on a nightly basis something started coming after our chickens, and my dad would get out of the bed, grab the shotgun, go outside, try to protect our chickens. He said there's something out there that had a big orange eye shine out there. Where it was standing, he could only see the one eye, but he had a big orange eye reflecting. And about as soon as he could run this thing off, go back to bed, the chickens would start squawking, and he'd go back outside to run it off again. And I'd go out with him, and it'd be so cold, my knees would be, you know, shaking. And it had just the most evil feeling down there. If you can imagine it, just an evil feeling. Gabby knows what I'm talking
Ominous
about.
and oppressive and just creepy. I mean, it was so heavy that I could even leave the house to go bowling with my church, and I would just still feel really creeped out, even though I wasn't home.
And
It
we
was the
lost-
strangest thing.
And we lost like 2 dogs within like the same week, something like that. And around this time, we'd had animals coming up missing, and we started smelling something rotting around the house, dead animal smell, and didn't know where it was coming from. But you know, on one of those nights that something was after our chickens, me and Dad's out there in the middle of the night, and we had a goat house for some, you know, pet goats we had, and it slowly became kind of like storage slash a place for the goats to get out of the rain, you know. It was like a 4x4 frame, and it had tin covering the sides, you know, and one big opening in the front so you could step inside it. And when you stepped in and on the left,
Go ahead.
we had a bunch of stuff piled up against the wall, multiple different things, and against the actual wall itself, there was a red radio flyer wagon leaned up against the wall with a bunch of stuff piled in front of it. And for whatever reason, when we're messing around out there running this thing off, my dad starts kind of looking around, and he steps in there, and he grabs that radio flyer wagon, kind of peeks back, pulls it back, and looks down behind it, and there's all of our missing animals stacked up back there.
Oh man.
They're stacked
Wow.
up one on top of the other, like 2 chickens and a cat that went missing. But here's where it really reminded me of what you're talking about, Barton, because the cat was hollowed out. It had been like cut down around its stomach, and its genitals were missing, and it was just flattened out.
Yeah, yeah.
And Dad called, you know, Tennessee Wildlife and was like, "Is there any kind of animal that would do something like this?"
Mhm.
And they told him, "No, I don't know of any animal that would do that. That sounds like more like a human."
Sure.
And we do have people that practice witchcraft, you know, down the road from us where we live, about quarter mile, half a mile, something like that.
Mhm.
You know, we recorded flute music off in our woods in the middle of the night.
Oh
and
wow, creepy man.
It's creepy,
Yeah,
y'all.
it's scary.
Found what appears to be hex symbols left at the base of our mailbox, like laid out in sticks.
Wow, man.
Yeah, I contacted a former satanic high priest that became a Christian.
Mhm.
I was like, "Man, you know about this stuff. This symbol that was on my mailbox, is this some sort of a hex or something?" And he looked at it and said, that actually is some kind of a hex.
Uh-huh.
Please keep me updated on, you know, what's going on. Let me know what's going on.
Sure.
And, you know, we prayed about it because, you know, God's bigger than the boogeyman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So we take it to God in prayer. My
Mhm.
dad gets a raise a few days at work. So, you know, that's kind of enough to tell us that,
Yeah, take that, Satan.
yeah, take that,
Yeah,
Satan.
yeah.
So, but that really reminded me of what you were describing on y'all's family property, just them
Yeah.
hollowed out or cut down the stomach.
Right. Well, it's really strange. And just like you guys, our chickens started disappearing first. The first things to go, and that really upset my dad.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he would have an incubator, and he would hatch these little chickens, you know, and they'd be in a room in our house in a little enclosure that he made. And so when spring came around, we had the chicken coop ready to go, and you know, it's one thing that you need if you're in your country.
Oh, yeah.
And you're poor. There's actually 3 things that are necessities, and that's chickens, a 12-gauge shotgun, and a real good guard dog.
Yeah.
You need all three of those things, you're going to survive in the country. So,
Mhm.
yeah, they go after the animals, and they seem like they hate the dogs worst of all.
Yes.
They killed all of our animals. They killed a horse. They killed the neighbor's pig. They killed our goat. So I guess they don't like any of the animals, but they really, really focused on the dogs. We found 8 dog carcasses in 11 months on our property. All of them died the same way. It was pretty interesting because we had 2 of the most vicious guard dogs ever. And they were so vicious. Close family friends could not come and visit us. They could not get out of the car until my mother or my dad went out there and got the dogs off.
Yes.
Got them away from them. We had a little piece of underpinning missing right there by the back door steps. So the Spotsville Monster never did get either one of our dogs because every time it would come around, the dogs would run underneath the house in that opening by the back steps.
They're
right?
smart. They're smart.
And we used it as sort of a warning. My mom and dad, we hear the dogs' heads bumping on the floorboards underneath our feet, and we knew what we was in for that night.
You knew what was coming.
Right.
You knew what was coming.
And eventually, like you said, brother, my parents called the cops, the sheriff, state police, 3 or 4 times, and they responded. But after that, they would not respond anymore. Had a big write-up in the Henderson Gleaner about it. And, we weren't the only ones having problems with these things.
Well, even your family friend even openly stated
Yes.
that the police he'd heard the policeman talking that night.
Well,
but
they didn't know that he was out there.
Yeah,
in the
he was out
woods.
in the woods hidden.
Yeah.
And they all plainly stated that the police did not want to come, did not want
Right.
to respond.
Well, they walked out to the woods. He told me he was laying down out there when they got there, and they walked out to the woods. I told my mom and dad they was going to look around really good, And one of them smoked a cigarette, and they talking back and forth. And when he got done, they walked back into the house and said, "We didn't find nothing. There's nothing out there," and they left. So after it all got publicized, monster hunters from all over America descended on Spotsville,
Sure.
Kentucky in 1975 trying to shoot the monster, right? But due to a typo in the newspaper article, they never reached our farm. The newspaper said the name of the road was Mound Hill Road. It was really Mound Ridge. So,
Yeah.
but it was probably for the best because our dogs would have eaten anyone that came
Yeah. Yeah.
close to our house. But they would not have anything to do with these monsters that was running around out there, right?
Not to change channels or anything, but I find it, we're all sitting here talking about this tonight, and we had a special guest with us less than 2 weeks ago, and it's funny the statement he told us that in his considerable experience that Bigfoot absolutely goes after any dog, whether if it's in a camp or around a neighborhood, that they will absolutely come after the dogs in the neighborhood and take them out.
Right. Who said that, Ron?
That was Mr. Ron.
Indiana
Moorhead, and he
Ram
told
is
us,
our newest brother of the wolf. Yeah.
and there was so much wisdom that we gained from being with him, and of course and he says the same thing, that he's a student. We are all students to learn something new every day, and that man had much to teach us.
And still a lot yet to teach us.
And still so much more that man is just a walking encyclopedia, and the words that we've used in the past is a national treasure.
Right. Well, you're sure right about the dogs.
Yeah, so they
These
come
Bigfoot
after the
creatures
dogs
don't
every
like- yeah,
time.
they don't like dogs at
And,
all.
they'll
for whatever
kill 'em.
reason.
Pack 'em off.
Babies don't get invited to LBL campouts.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Well, I wouldn't let nothing happen to him if you brought him here. And a matter of fact, your late dad, the late Johnny Henderson, he's the reason that I'm here. If not for him, I probably wouldn't even be here. So I'm here to fulfill a promise that I made that man. And as long as I'm able to walk and swing my swords, I will be down here trying
In
to
pursuit,
to
in
make
pursuit
good
of
on
the
my
beast.
word. Yes.
You know, well, since you brought it up, and I hope, because I've never been able to speak openly in front of Gabby and Elijah, but you know, if it had not been for your father and for you, Elijah, I would have never came out of what we call, per se, the woods or the closet and told my story ever if it had not been for you and your father. I would have never told it, because if you recall, your father had approached me at one point in a chat room, and he saw that I just typed something, and he was smart enough to pick up on the fact that I must have seen something, and he began to question me, and then we corresponded back and forth on social media. But if you had not ever approached me to appear actually and tell my story with Small Town Monsters, uh, Mr. Darrell Denton is a friend of mine that I've known for over 40 years, and he kept my secret since 1993 because he was a mayor and I was a police officer in the same jurisdiction of him. But I had kept that secret until I met your father and you on social media, and y'all were the ones that brought me out of the woods or out of the closet to tell the story. And for various reasons, such as we have a good friend in camp tonight that he cannot come forth and tell everything that he knows because he's been a police officer. But I have to credit your father and you, Cryptid Studies Institute, or I wouldn't even be here tonight.
I appreciate that, Mark.
And
Thank
another
you,
reason,
Gabby, and God bless you.
Another
We're
reason
glad to have you here,
Glad to be here with you,
sharing
brother.
stories or not.
Yes, sir.
also, it was also your dad and Josh Turner that brought me out of retirement. I'd already retired, been retired for 2 or 3 years because of all the, I don't want to call them bad names on live stream, but because of all the charlatans that's involved in the cryptid field.
The negative
Right, I
side of it.
got so
Yeah.
sick of hearing the lies and
Yeah.
and watching all that, the same old tired tripe that the narrative that they roll out on TV over and over and over, and I just got so disgusted I walked away from it. But your dad and Josh Turner brought me back, so I have those gentlemen to thank for that as well.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
are.
Yeah, we're glad y'all are here too.
Most assuredly glad to be here with you guys tonight and
Yeah.
sharing this campfire on Halloween. And I would like to very much, anyone that's watching tonight or will watch this in the future, as just came out recently that Elijah has learned, everywhere I go, I will always promote the Cryptid Studies Institute because of their history of factual, historically correct, and very truthful reports that his dad was known for, and for what Gabby and Elijah are continuing to do. And I just absolutely am one of your greatest fans.
Thank you.
I love to watch all the going back to when your dad had you guys out and y'all were just so small and he had you out and y'all were investigating with your dad. But recently, you know, you were with Tony Merkel and he had told you the story about how I had very much encouraged him to reach out and meet you guys. But it is because of your truthful and your honest reports of trying to bring these, I call them incidents. I don't really call any of this stuff stories because they're actually, as a policeman, incidents, truthful accounts and reports where you guys go out and investigate. I'm sorry for tooting the horn for Cryptid Studies Institute, but we love you.
Yeah, we
We
love
love
you.
you all.
We love you.
guys
Keep the
too.
horn all you
We
like.
appreciate
Thank you
y'all.
for the
Yes.
shout-out.
Very much so. We try to tell the truth not as much as possible. We tell the truth. I know Christianity gets a bad rap these days, but we genuinely believe that all liars will have their part in the lake of fire. So,
Amen.
so
Amen.
And
We
that's
don't
what the
want
word
part of
says.
that, So,
Well, you know, your integrity speaks for itself, and your dad was the most righteous man that I've ever met, and I was proud to be able to go out with you guys several times. You know, try to find this beast. And
Well, that means a
Unfortunately, he didn't
lot.
get to finish the mission, but I'm going to try to finish it on his behalf.
One of my favorite Cryptid Studies Institute, and there are so many, but one of them goes back is after you had found some lost footage that was on one of the cameras, and that had been recorded, and it hit so close to home for me because you guys were investigating something that had taken place in the edge of Cheatham County, and I actually knew the area without giving it away on camera.
Good.
But there was so many reports in the area where your dad was investigating at that man's home and in the woods, and when you'd found all the bones that you had found where the creature had actually been killing and eating bones, and it was basically a killing
Boneyard,
field,
yeah.
boneyard. And it was so fascinating to me because to this very day, with only just a few months ago, I'm friends with some Cheatham County deputies, and they have had so much activity in this same area
Oh, cool.
as it persists, 20 some odd years later.
What's cool to know something still rummaging around?
Oh,
in
there's
there.
something wrong. There's something really out there, man. But your dad was on that. Your dad, well, you guys were too. But, you know, the two of y'all was just like this, but y'all were in the woods.
That's an interesting area because the guy, the man who's having incidents on his property, he was a musician in Nashville. He actually did some time with some bigger bands and whatnot, and we couldn't tell his name because of that and whatnot. But his son was out in his backyard riding around on a four-wheeler, making tracks back and forth, going around in a circle. And when he was making a revolution to come back around toward the back, I guess toward the back of the property, or there's a basketball goal over there, somewhere around there. He's seen a Sasquatch who's just standing there watching him.
Oh,
And
wow,
it terrified him. He jumped off of the four-wheeler and ran toward the house as fast as he could.
Sure.
I feel like you could go faster on the four-wheeler,
Yeah.
but I guess whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, yeah. He got out of Dodge, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure did.
yeah.
Smart of
But
him. I don't try to.
It's a heck of an area, isn't it?
My cousin seen a Sasquatch crossing the road. Shoot, that's probably 4 or 5, I guess, when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
But it's crossing the road over in Ashland City,
Yes.
and it had a dead deer slung across its shoulder. She was going to
Packing
school. early
food
in the
home.
morning. Yep.
Packing the food. Yeah, yeah.
Ordered some takeout.
Well, to this day, I am friends with an individual in this area that, and I had history, and I don't want to really talk about that, but Cheatham Wildlife Management area, and and the infamous, you have two recent deaths within the last 5 years where they have been found predated upon, supposedly post-mortem, but in the area of Pleasant View, at the entrance of a cave.
Isn't that interesting?
At the entrance of a cave. And so we got all this taking place, and with what you're talking about, where you guys investigated that many years ago, so many people are seeing Bigfoot or the hairy man, Sasquatch, in the area of Ashland City.
I'm a little sparse on the details,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it was an uncle of mine. He used to work with the TVA. They're clearing brush or something down there. This would have been probably the 70s or 80s or something like that. And they said they heard something real big and giant when they were working down there get up and just run off into the woods. So I don't know.
Wow,
Maybe they came up on something.
Sure.
But it was in Ashland City. That's why I bring it up.
There's so many active cases in that area.
Tennessee and Kentucky is just really full of these humanoids. I don't know why, but
Cane Tuck, land of the
Yeah.
shadow people.
yeah, dark and bloody ground.
I will
It's not
share
just
something
seeing
with you.
humanoids either. It's
So-
ghosts and UFOs and
Yeah.
everything you can think of when it comes to unexplained phenomena.
I-
You find it right here.
I got to share something because we're all together tonight with Elijah and Gabby as well, and I've come to a point that I haven't been around as long as so many others have, but since 1982, I've had different types of events with Bigfoot or Sasquatch and other phenomena. But here's where I'm headed with this. I've come to an answer in my life And I got that answer from Mr. Moorhead, and it came exactly just as we were speaking then. But I've had the answer that for me that it's just the complete end of 30 some odd years of investigating things. Bigfoot walks within the realm of different, these creatures can walk between the different frequencies and levels and dimensions, that it is no wonder why that we see them and they disappear. Barton tells the story of many times of how you can follow a track and then all of a sudden the tracks are gone in the middle of a field, mud field, snow field, what have you. But my answer is clear for me. It may not be the answer for others. These things can walk right into a tree. American Indians tell us and speak of the oral history of that they rest within the tree. And for me, and all the different witnesses that I spoke to within this very park we're in tonight, how many have told me that they have seen either a dogman or a Bigfoot walk right into a tree? Some will call it portals, some will call it other things. But there's the answer for me. These things live within the trees or within rock. We have so many, but there you go. Here's one old man giving his idea that no wonder that they can come and go with their leisure. Where they come and go from, I do not know. But it's my answer. It solved a lot of things in my head.
Right. Well, if you're an entity that can become completely invisible to the human eye, you can come and go as you please anywhere you want. People think that these things are confined to the woods and forests, but they're not.
No.
They can go anywhere they want, and they could be responsible for a lot of the poltergeist activity people are experiencing. We have
Yes.
blondes and boos. That's their area of expertise. Krista and Hollywood, shout out to you guys. We love you guys.
Very much so. Very much.
But yeah, if no one can see you, then what limitations do you put upon yourself?
Mm-hmm.
What restrictions do you have? I say none.
Mm-hmm. Elijah, Gabby, thoughts on that? What do you think about this?
About what we just discussed.
Yes. How they come and go and can disappear. And,
Right. And I've had this happen. I'm just not talking about this from something I saw on TV or read in a book. This has happened to me twice.
I think that's a
Once
bit.
in broad daylight.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
ruin
I
it.
won't-
I was just gonna say I think it's a very bizarre phenomenon, and this side of heaven we can't possibly explain it. It's just there are so many things in this world that we'll probably never know, but it's weird
Very much
and it's
so.
unexplainable. But it sure is fun trying to be out here and figure it out.
It is, isn't it?
It's gonna
I
remain,
want to have some answers. And your thoughts too.
it's gonna
What do you
remain
think about this?
one of those unanswered questions like, did Pat Garrett shoot Billy the Kid? That's
Oh,
it's gonna
yes,
remain
yes.
one of those.
Yes.
But I do think, a lot of sightings like that are something of a demonic nature personally. I do think there's something physical running around because back at the house I got hair samples that was given to me by Mary Green. She's a very famous Bigfoot researcher.
Certainly. Certainly.
Love Mary.
They came back from the
Your
laboratory
friend,
as undocumented primate,
Mhm.
and they're still at the house. They didn't go anywhere, so I think
Oh,
there's
sorry.
something.
I do
But-
too. I do too.
There's obviously a phenomenon of people seeing something appearing and disappearing, so I think you got a few things going on, personally.
Well, I'm an old guy. I just hope that you two young ones will one day have that answer and remember us sitting around this fire tonight, and hopefully in the two of your future, because Barton and I ain't no spring chicken, as they say, but
No.
maybe you guys will continue the flame and one day have that answer.
Who can say? We will sure keep going.
Right. I don't
Yes.
think there's anything unexplainable. I
Yes,
think the answers are out there.
I do too.
The only trap is when you find the answer, will you believe it? That's the question. So the answers are out there for people to find. I found answers, to my satisfaction about all these things, about all unexplained phenomena, all
Yes.
the inhumanoids. I have my own answers and they satisfy me. But
Sure,
the only
sure.
reason I have them is because when I found those answers, I was smart enough to believe it and not doubt it. So that's the question. Will you believe the answer when you come to it? It's not beyond your grasp as a human being, or the powers of the human mind. It's not beyond. Not beyond your mind to be able to understand what's happening. You just have to believe it. That's my position.
Something that just recently come out, the same individual that taught us, is this: keep an open mind and accept the information that comes forth. And as you said, as you just said, and you said it best, but being able to receive that information and understand it and believe it
Right.
and believe it.
Well, I have my own explanations and conclusions, and I can tell you this right now: Bigfoot is not a monkey.
No, not at all.
Dogman is not an evolutionary. It's not a product of natural evolution. There's never been a partly human cryptid. Those cryptids are simply natural animals that are rumored to exist, but have yet to be scientifically classified, right? So these things are not natural animals. No natural animal can take 4 steps away from me in broad daylight and disappear.
And disappear.
Which is what one of these things did.
And with what you said, and with what Elijah has said too, that for me too, with what you said, and what you said concerning the demonic, satanic, or these creatures, whatever they may be, they're not natural.
No, and I can tell you
Not
right
at
now,
all.
I can tell all my viewers right now that I do believe these things are demonic in nature. That's my own personal conclusion. I believe it 100% because of my experiences, not because of something that I've been taught or learned from someone else or heard from someone else.
Hurt someone else.
Strictly from my own life experiences, I believe these things are demonic.
When these things
Nature.
surrounded us here in Red Hollow, and I counted at least 4 creatures in our count for number 23, at some point in time, you'll recall that I'd had enough, and I rushed out into the middle of the woods, and I began to chant and to pray. And there's a couple of prayers that I've been taught, and I cast and demanded in the name of Jesus Christ for them to disperse from our camp and to leave us.
And guess
they
what?
did.
Yeah, they did.
And they did.
So
In
if
the name
these
of
things
Jesus
have
Christ.
no connection to the spirit realm or good versus evil, then they wouldn't have,
They
have
would
no
not have
effect.
dispersed.
If they were monkeys, they wouldn't care what you
I
prayed or who you
concur,
prayed
brother.
to.
I concur.
So, would you have something to say, Gabby?
Oh, I was just going
I know you're
to
freezing, huh?
agree
We're gonna
that
wrap
the
this
name
up
of Jesus
soon.
Christ is a truly wonderful and powerful name.
It is. And the fact that these things respond to it like they do should tell you all you
Amen,
need to
brother.
know and give you all the answers
Exactly
that
what
you
she
need to
said.
know. You just have to believe them.
Exactly what she
Right.
said.
Okay, guys, we're going to wrap this up. Everybody's freezing.
Oh, it is Floridian weather out here, brother.
Gabby, she's having a hard time, but we're so glad you guys joined us on this fireside chat.
Yes.
Had such a good time.
We really
Yeah,
had a great
there
time
you
too.
are.
Thank you
I'm
so
here.
much for having us on.
Oh, you're
thank
so
you very
welcome.
much for
Watch
having
your
us
back.
on.
There,
Come
in
on
the
in
chat,
here.
Somebody said they
Come
see
on in
eyes
here.
come in behind y'all.
Come
Right,
in behind. No, please do come in.
I'm looking
Yeah, we
behind
have
you.
we're in a really primitive spot, and right behind us is the Cumberland River and woods all around. And thank you, War Criminal 7 and Letitia.
Yes,
for
we,
y'all
we
watching our
salute
back.
War
Yeah.
Criminal.
Thank you, War Criminal, for pulling security tonight for us.
Yes, War Criminal 7.
You are
Thank
a
brother.
handsome individual, and you should have your face up here, but we understand.
One day you
Happy
will.
Halloween to you, sir, and to everyone else that is listening.
Happy
I'm glad
Halloween.
you shared Halloween with us.
You
Right.
guys, Halloween's almost over, so you know what that means, right? It's almost Christmas.
Amen. Woo! Yes. And I've got the beard. I'm awaiting my special time.
Okay, you guys. I hope you have a great night. Happy Halloween
Happy
to
Halloween.
everyone. Thank you for stopping by, and we'll see you next Wednesday beginning at 8 o'clock.
God bless
Sharp.
everyone.
Thank you
God
so
bless
much.
you all.
God
Be
bless.
safe. We love you. See you
Love
next
everyone.
Good night.
Love y'all for being here too. Very good to be here tonight. Love you, Miss Gabby.
We love you.
I don't even get your feet close to that fire.
I do not know. They said that
I
they
was
were
sitting,
seeing
I was freezing like you guys were too, but I was like, okay, this is all